Have you ever felt completely abandoned by God? Have you screamed out in pain just like Job, demanding an answer for your suffering only to be met with silence? What if I told you that when God finally broke his silence, he didn't give Job the answer he wanted? He gave him something far more terrifying and profound. He revealed two unstoppable monsters he had created, the Behemoth and the Leviathan. Why would God respond to a man's deepest pain by talking about monsters? The answer is one of the most powerful and overlooked secrets in the entire Bible, and it holds the key to understanding God's absolute power, especially when your own life feels like it's falling apart. What you are about to discover today is not just a lesson in biblical mythology, it's a direct revelation meant to strengthen your faith in ways you cannot imagine. We are going to uncover what these creatures were, and more importantly, the divine purpose behind their terrifying existence. So, I have to ask you to stay with me until the very end, because the truth behind these biblical monsters is the very answer you might need for your own struggles. And listen, a huge number of people who find spiritual strength in these videos are not actually subscribed. If you believe God has a message for you and you enjoy content like this, take a single second and click that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss the incredible truths we're going to continue to uncover together. Now let's begin. Well, now let's step into the whirlwind with Job for a moment. Picture this: a man stripped of everything, sitting in ashes, having screamed his questions into a silent heaven. And then finally God answers, but it's not the answer anyone expected. He doesn't give a neat, tidy explanation for suffering. Instead, he pulls back the curtain on his creation and says, in essence, let me show you something. And the first thing he points to is Behemoth. God himself introduces this creature, saying, behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. Job 40:15. Think about that. God puts this incredible being on the same level of creation as humanity itself. I made it with thee. This isn't just some random animal he's pointing out. This is Exhibit A in the divine case for God's sheer, untamable power. We're about to get a guided tour of one of the most awe-inspiring biblical monsters ever described, a creature that makes the beasts from human mythology look like child's play. This is where the story of the Behemoth begins, not as a fable, but as a direct revelation from the Creator, a testament to a power so vast, our human minds can barely begin to grasp the edges of it. It's a lesson that starts not with philosophy, but with a creature that eats grass like an ox, yet embodies the very pinnacle of earthly strength. Let's dig a little deeper into this incredible description from the book of Job. God continues, highlighting the source of this creature's might. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. Job 40:16. This isn't just poetic language. It's a detailed anatomical breakdown of raw, explosive power. Imagine a being whose very core, its center of gravity, is a furnace of unstoppable force. We're talking about muscles so dense, so powerful that they defy all comparison. This behemoth isn't just big, it's intricately designed for dominance. It's a living, breathing engine of might. Ancient cultures had their own mythology filled with powerful beasts and chimeras. But this is different. This is the Creator describing his own handiwork, pointing out the specifics. It's almost as if he's taking pride in the sheer physicality of this masterpiece. He created a creature that finds its sustenance in the simple grass of the field, yet possesses a power that could shake the very foundations of the earth. This paradox is a powerful lesson in itself. The most profound strength doesn't always come from the most ferocious source. God can pack world-altering power into a gentle giant, reminding us that his ways are far beyond our simple understanding of cause and effect. Now here's the detail that really throws a wrench in all the simple explanations. God says of this behemoth, he moveth his tail like a cedar. Job 40:17. Whoa, hold on a minute. Let's really wrap our heads around that. A cedar tree. We're talking about the massive, towering cedars of Lebanon, trees known for their immense size, strength, and unwavering presence. Their trunks are like pillars. Now, picture a tail that moves with the force and scale of a whole cedar tree swinging back and forth. This single detail obliterates the common theory that Behemoth was just a glorified hippo or elephant. Have you ever seen a hippo's tail? It's a small, almost comical little thing. This description points to something far grander, something of a completely different order of magnitude. This is where the biblical account of these creatures diverges sharply from simple zoology and enters a realm of divine exceptionalism. The image is staggering. A tail so colossal it could likely level anything in its path with a single sweep. It paints a picture of a creature of such epic proportions that it truly belongs in a category of its own. A prime example of the unique biblical monsters found within the scriptures, distinct from any beast of common mythology. It's a description designed to evoke awe and to stretch the limits of our imagination. The tour of this magnificent behemoth continues with its very framework, the structure holding all that power together. God describes its bones as strong pieces of brass and like bars of iron, Job 40:18. My friend, this is the language of invincibility. Brass in the ancient world was a symbol of strength and endurance. Iron was the material of weapons and unbreakable fortifications. So we're being told that this creature's skeleton is like a series of forged metal beams. Can you even imagine that? It suggests a being that is virtually indestructible, a walking fortress of flesh and bone. No spear could pierce it, no sword could break it. It's as if God is saying, you see this creature? I built it to last. I engineered it to be an unbreachable titan. This description elevates Behemoth beyond a mere animal and into the realm of a primordial force. It's a living testament to God's creative genius, not just in its power, but in its very substance. In a world full of predators and danger, the Behemoth was built to fear nothing. It stands as a powerful symbol of stability and unshakable strength, a concept that the suffering Job desperately needed to grasp. It's one thing to hear about God's power. It's another thing entirely to see it manifest in a creature forged from the divine equivalent of brass and iron. And then God delivers the final breathtaking stroke in his portrait of this incredible creature. He declares he is the chief of the ways of God, Job 40:19. Some translations say the first or the masterpiece. The meaning is clear. Among all the creatures that walk the land, Behemoth is the pinnacle. It's God's magnum opus of terrestrial creation. It is the ultimate display of what he can do with dust and water. But just as we are left standing in complete awe of this unstoppable behemoth, God adds the most important detail of all. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. And there it is, the ultimate truth, as mighty, as invincible, as terrifying as this creature is, there is one who holds authority over it. The same hand that forged its iron bones is the only hand that can bring it to heel. This is the mic drop moment in God's speech. He's not just showing off his cool creations. He's making a profound point to Job and to us. If we can't even stand before the masterpiece, how could we possibly question the master? This powerful statement perfectly sets the stage for us to explore what this colossal creature might have actually been, moving from its divine description to the theories that have puzzled humanity for centuries. So, the million-dollar question that has echoed through the ages is, what on earth was the behemoth? The most common answer you'll find in many study Bibles is that it's a powerful poetic description of a hippopotamus or an elephant. And, to be fair, you can see where they're coming from. They're massive, land-dwelling herbivores with incredible strength. But my friend, that theory springs a leak the moment we get to the tail. As we discussed, God's description of a tail that sways like a cedar simply doesn't fit the small, unimpressive tails of those animals. It's the one detail that forces us to look beyond the obvious and consider that the book of Job might be describing something far outside our modern classifications of the animal kingdom. This brings us to a far more jaw-dropping possibility, one that connects the ancient world of the Bible with the even more ancient world of prehistory. What if God was describing a creature we now know as a dinosaur, specifically a massive sauropod like the Brachiosaurus? Think about it. A colossal plant eater, immense strength centered in its legs and torso, and a gigantic, powerful tail that perfectly matches the cedar analogy. This theory suggests that perhaps some of these magnificent creatures still roamed the earth in Job's time, making these biblical monsters not creatures of mythology, but of living memory. It's a staggering thought that reframes our entire understanding of the world Job inhabited, suggesting a world far more primal and awe-inspiring than we often imagine. Finally, there is the symbolic interpretation, which sees the behemoth not as a physical creature, but as a powerful metaphor. In this view, behemoth represents the untamable, primordial power of the land itself, a force of nature that only God can control. It could also symbolize a great and powerful earthly empire like Egypt, which was often biblically represented as a mighty beast. The message to Job would be, if you cannot even contend with this earthly power, be it a creature or a kingdom, how could you possibly stand and question the one who created it all? Whether it was a real animal, a surviving dinosaur, or a profound symbol, the behemoth served its purpose perfectly. It established the scale of God's authority on the land. But God wasn't done. He was about to shift Job's gaze from the land to the sea, to an entity of pure chaos and terror known as Leviathan. Now, just as Job is trying to comprehend the scale of the behemoth, God pivots and takes him from the solid ground to the raging sea. The tone immediately gets darker, more intense. God introduces the second of his ultimate biblical monsters with a challenge that's almost dripping with divine sarcasm. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook? Job 41:1. The very question is designed to show the absurdity of human strength against this creature. You don't fish for the Leviathan. You don't tame it or make a pet of it. This isn't just an animal. It's the embodiment of the sea's chaotic and untamable power, a primordial force that answers to no one but its creator. God is establishing a new level of awe and terror here. The description that follows is pure nightmare fuel. God speaks of the Leviathan's terrible teeth and its back, which is made of rows of shields, shut up together as with a close seal. Job 41:15. This is no ordinary creature. It's an armored living battleship. Each scale is an interlocking plate, so perfectly sealed that not even air can pass between them. It's a vision of utter invulnerability. Where the behemoth was a masterpiece of power, the Leviathan is a masterpiece of warfare and terror. The book of Job paints a picture of a beast so perfectly designed for destruction and defense that it scoffs at human weapons, counting iron as straw and brass as rotten wood. Job 41:27. It is the undisputed king of the deep. But then, the description in the book of Job takes a turn from the natural to the supernatural, launching Leviathan into the highest echelons of mythology. God describes its eyes glowing like the eyelids of the morning, and then, incredibly, he details fire and smoke billowing from its mouth and nostrils. Out of his mouth go burning lamps and sparks of fire leap out. Job 41:19. Whoa. We have officially left the realm of any known creature. This is a fire-breathing sea dragon, a true monster of chaos. This is not an exaggerated crocodile. It's something else entirely. This awe-inspiring, terrifying feature is what truly defines the Leviathan. And just as before, this incredible, almost unbelievable description forces us to ask, what in the world was this creature? So, what are we to make of this fire-breathing sea monster, the mighty Leviathan? The simplest theory attempts to ground it in reality, suggesting it's a poetic, exaggerated description of a fearsome creature like a Nile crocodile. A crocodile is certainly a powerful and armored predator that would have been terrifying to ancient peoples. However, this explanation completely breaks down when faced with the most vivid parts of the text from the Book of Job. There is simply no naturalistic way to account for glowing eyes and sparks of fire leaping from its mouth. To reduce the Leviathan to a mere crocodile is to ignore the very details that make it so awe-inspiring and terrifying. A more compelling theory connects the Leviathan to the broader mythology of the ancient world. Many neighboring cultures had a chaos serpent myth, a primordial sea dragon that a creator god had to slay to bring order to the universe. But here's the beautiful, radical twist in the Bible. God doesn't fight the Leviathan to create the world. He creates the Leviathan as part of the world. Psalm 104 even says, God formed this beast to play in the sea. This is a profound theological statement. Chaos isn't a rival power to God. It's a tool in his hand, a creature he dominates with ease, demonstrating his absolute sovereignty over all things, even the forces that seem most terrifying to us. This powerful image of the Leviathan is then woven throughout Scripture as a potent symbol. It comes to represent proud, evil empires that stand against God's people, and it embodies the spiritual chaos that will be ultimately and finally defeated at the end of time. Whether it was a real, unique creature, a memory of a prehistoric beast, or a link to ancient mythology, its symbolic power is undeniable. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. God's spectacular descriptions of Behemoth and Leviathan weren't just a display of his creative portfolio. They were the setup for the ultimate lesson he was about to deliver to Job. And so we finally arrive at the ultimate reason for this divine lecture. Why did God spend so much time describing the Behemoth and the Leviathan? It wasn't to boast. It was a masterclass in humility, delivered with the power of a whirlwind. The message to Job, and to every one of us who has ever questioned God in our suffering, was breathtakingly profound. He was essentially saying, if you cannot begin to comprehend or control these two mere creatures that I have made, how can you possibly presume to understand the infinite wisdom behind how I govern the universe? The monsters were the measuring stick, designed to show Job the staggering gap between his finite perspective and God's infinite reality. This is the divine punchline. The point wasn't about the specific biology of these biblical monsters, but about the authority of their creator. If man is powerless before the creature, then he must stand in silent awe before the one who made it. Faith, God was showing Job, isn't about having all the logical answers to our why questions. It is about trusting the character of the one who holds all power, all wisdom, and all of creation, from the mightiest Behemoth to the most chaotic Leviathan, effortlessly in his hands. The existence of these unstoppable forces is the ultimate proof that our world is governed by a power and intelligence far beyond our own. Ultimately, these incredible beings from the Book of Job serve one final purpose. They point us back to the throne of God. They remind us that the one who created beings of such magnificent power and terror is also the one who numbers the hairs on our head. Their story is a call to lay down our own limited understanding and to rest in the awesome, sovereign, and trustworthy hands of the God who is in absolute control of all things. It's a lesson designed not to crush us with our insignificance, but to lift us up in wonder at the sheer scale of His majesty. So the ultimate lesson of the Behemoth and Leviathan is that God's power is infinitely greater than our problems. These monsters show us that we can trust His wisdom, even when we can't see His plan. Now I want to hear from you. What do you believe these creatures were? Real monsters, surviving dinosaurs, or powerful symbols? Share your theory in the comments below. If this message has touched your spirit, please subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss another video like this. And don't go anywhere. Click the video on your screen right now to uncover another powerful biblical truth that will change the way you see the world.